The walls in Mayflower Housing Project were thin. You could hear couples argue, babies cry, water heaters groan like wounded animals. But what Elijah Hurd noticed most were the quiet stretches in between, those long moments when the whole building seemed to hold its breath. He liked those moments. They didn't ask anything of him. He'd lived in apartment 3C for 11 years, kept to himself, never missed rent, never caused a scene. Neighbors came and went. He stayed. It was easier that way. Until the night he heard tapping from the unit next door. Not a party, not plumbing. Tapping. Slow. Rhythmic. Like someone using Morse code or trying to remember they were alive. Elijah froze where he stood, mid-step between the fridge and the sink. The noise had started a week ago. Late nights, always after 11 p.m. At first he thought it was rats. Then he listened closer. It came from apartment 3B. That place had been empty since Miss Robbins died last spring. Maintenance never came to fix it up. No welcome mat, no foot traffic. But the tapping had changed lately. It was faster now, more desperate. Last night it sounded like fingernails on drywall. He mentioned it casually to Mr. Campos, the custodian. Someone squatting next door? Campos just shrugged. Could be. Kids sometimes break in, or junkies. I don't go in unless the office says. They say anything? Campos looked uncomfortable. Not really. I think the super knows. Then he leaned closer. But someone's been using the trash chute. Real small bags. Real light. That night, Elijah stayed up. He turned off the TV, sat in the dark with his back against the wall shared with 3B. Waited. At 12:17 a.m., it came again. Tap, tap, tap. Then silence. Then a faint whisper. Please. Elijah's heart stopped. He pressed his ear to the wall. Hello? He said. No reply. But the sound of breathing, faint, shaky, came through the plaster. In the morning, he knocked on 3B's door. No answer. He crouched to peer through the gap between the floor and the door. Dust, shadows, and then movement. Two small eyes stared back, then vanished. Elijah reported it, called the leasing office, left a voicemail, even stopped by in person. No one returned his calls. That evening, he saw a man in a suit, too clean for this building, exit the stairwell with a clipboard. The man looked at 3B, wrote something, and left. Not once did he knock. By the fourth night, Elijah made a decision. He filled a small paper bag with food, crackers, applesauce, granola bars, and slid it under the door of 3B. 30 minutes later, the bag slid back out. Empty, except for a note scrawled on the back of a torn envelope. Please don't tell anyone. I'm fine. Just don't let them find me. It was signed with a single initial, K. The tapping continued. Some nights it came with short words whispered through the wall. Are you real? Is it safe? Is today Thursday? Elijah answered in whispers too. He didn't ask too much, didn't press, just listened. He started leaving books, juice boxes, clean socks. They always disappeared. Then one day, the hallway filled with voices. Two men in khakis and jackets with DHS badges stood outside 3B. Elijah opened his door slowly. There a problem? One of them turned. Just following up on a concern, noise complaints. From who? Anonymous tip. Nothing serious. But Elijah noticed they had lock override tools. He waited until they left. 3B remained untouched. That night, there was no tapping. Only silence. At 3 a.m., a knock on Elijah's door startled him awake. He opened it, cautiously. No one. But on the floor, a shoebox. Inside, a used inhaler, a faded school photo of a boy with dark curls and tired eyes, a folded piece of paper. "They're coming tomorrow." Elijah opened his door to find the boy standing in the hallway, barefoot, thin, a size too small for his clothes. His curls were wild, face pale under the fluorescent light. He hugged a tattered backpack to his chest. They stared at each other in silence. Then, softly, "Are you Elijah?" Elijah nodded. The boy glanced behind him, then stepped inside without asking permission. "I have 5 minutes. That's one of the rules." They sat at the small kitchen table, a beat-up fold-out Elijah had since the Bush administration. The boy didn't touch the water Elijah offered, didn't look around, just sat rigid, backpack still in his lap. "You have rules?" Elijah asked. The boy's eyes flicked up, then down. "Me? Why?" "Because they forgot the last one." Elijah blinked. "The last what?" The boy shrugged. "The last kid." His name was Kai, just turned 10. He didn't say where his parents were, didn't say how long he'd been in 3B, but he did say this: "Ms. Robbins used to let me stay. She said I was quiet. Then she went away. I stayed in the walls for a while." Elijah felt cold. "You mean like literally in the walls?" Kai nodded. "Behind the cabinet and under the stairs." Every question Elijah asked seemed to make Kai retreat further inward, so instead Elijah just listened. He learned Kai had asthma. He knew how to reset fuse boxes. He used duct tape to block light under doors. He rationed food by counting crackers into pairs of 3. He hadn't seen a doctor since age 6. "They'll take me away," he said matter-of-factly, "if they know I'm here, and I'll disappear." Elijah didn't argue. He remembered the group homes. He remembered disappearing, too. Kai checked his watch, a broken digital strapped with rubber bands. "Time's up." "You can stay," Elijah said. "That breaks Rule 5. He stood, walked to the door, paused. "Thanks for the applesauce." Then he vanished. Over the next few nights, a pattern formed. Tap, tap, tap. Elijah would open the door, Kai would enter, 5 minutes, then leave. They'd talk about books, movies, how to tie knots. Kai was sharp, fast talking, quiet laughing. But never once did Elijah let him follow him back to 3B. "That's Rule 0, he said. "Nobody sees where I sleep." Elijah started noticing signs, tiny things he'd never have seen before. Scratches behind hallway vents, light flickers when Kai used the stove, a missing maintenance key from the storage closet. Kai had built a life, hidden, fragile, secret. "He's good at hiding," he said, "better than grown-ups." One night, Elijah pressed, "Why not let someone help you officially, a real caseworker or a school counselor?" Kai's eyes narrowed. "You ever been in a place where all the adults wear badges?" Elijah nodded, slowly. "Yeah, I have." "Then you know." At 3 a.m., Elijah sat staring at Kai's rules, now pinned to his fridge. They weren't just rules. They were survival strategies. He pulled out his notebook, wrote a new one. 6. If a child trusts you, break the rules that hurt him, even if it costs you. The man was back. Same khaki slacks, same pressed button-down shirt, same Department of Human Services badge clipped to a leather belt. But this time, he didn't just glance at apartment 3B. He knocked. Hard. Elijah watched from the peephole of 3C, heart pounding. The man waited. Knocked again. "Mr. or Mrs. Robbins? This is DHS. We've received an anonymous concern about a minor possibly living in this unit." Elijah clenched his jaw. There was no Mr. or Mrs. Robbins, No one official lived in 3B. Only Kai. The man stepped back, pulled out a set of keys. Master override. Elijah's hand went to his doorknob, trembling. He couldn't let them go in. He couldn't. But if he interfered, DHS could call the cops, could charge him with obstruction, or worse, aiding and abetting. Just let them open the door, a voice in his head whispered. It'll be over. But another voice, quieter, more broken, said, He trusted you. Elijah opened his door. Excuse me, he said calmly. That apartment's been vacant since spring. The man turned. Dark eyes, clipped tone. We believe there may be a squatter, possibly a minor. You got a warrant? I have authorization from Housing and Child Welfare. Elijah stepped closer, careful to keep his hands visible. Then why didn't you bring a social worker? The man hesitated. We're conducting preliminary site inspections before involving third-party advocates. That sounded rehearsed, cold, like paperwork, not people. Behind the man, the door to 3B remained closed, silent. But Elijah felt Kai's fear pressing through the wall like a heartbeat. You find anything in there, Elijah said slowly. And what happens next? The man lifted his clipboard. If we find signs of child occupancy, we report it, then initiate emergency custody procedures. And if the child doesn't want to be found? The man blinked. That's not relevant. To him, it is. Elijah stood still as the key slid into the lock. The man turned it. Nothing. Locked from the inside. The man cursed. Fire code requires internal access. If it's locked from the inside, then someone's in there. Elijah finished. They both knew. But Elijah saw something shift in the man's eyes. Annoyance, not concern. The agent turned to Elijah. You live next door, right? You hear anything strange lately? Old pipes? Rats, maybe? No voices? I looked him dead in the eye. No kids live here. You know how quiet this place is. The man studied him for a beat. We'll be back with building security. Then he walked off, clipboard held like a weapon. That night, Elijah found a new note under his door, written in red crayon. Thank you. I was in the closet. I didn't breathe. You lied for me. Elijah stared at the words. He hadn't lied. He had protected. There was a difference. The next morning, Kai appeared outside Elijah's door before sunrise. Eyes wide, shoes mismatched, a trembling lip he tried to hide. They're going to get in. I know it. Elijah let him in, made tea, burnt toast, sat across from him. We'll figure this out. Kai shook his head violently. There's no we. That's how they trick you. They say, we'll help, and then they disappear you. He dropped a folded paper on the table. Elijah opened it. It was a map, hand-drawn, detailed. This is the maintenance crawl space. I can stay in there if they come back, for days. Elijah swallowed hard. Elijah hadn't been in the downtown records building in over 20 years. The place smelled the same, like paper dust in fluorescent light, like lives forgotten in boxes. He wore a baseball cap low over his eyes, didn't sign in, just walked like he belonged. Third floor, room 3D. I need access to old child services intake files, he told the clerk. a tired-looking woman with chipped nail polish. She squinted at him. "You a lawyer?" "No." "Parent?" "No." He hesitated. Then, "I was one of them." After a long pause, she waved him through. "You'll need gloves. Room's in the back. Keep your voice down." Elijah sifted through stacks of yellowing folders, names scrawled in permanent marker, ink faded into oblivion. He found his. Heard. Elijah J. D.O.B. 1982. Intake. 1989. A mugshot at 7 years old stared back at him, bruised cheek, vacant eyes. He turned the page, notes in shorthand, psych evaluations, case transfers. Then he found it. Subject disappeared from group home in 1997. Status, closed, assumed runaway. No search order, no follow-up. "They just stopped looking," Elijah whispered. "The file might as well have been a death certificate." He scanned more pages, hands shaking. One entry caught his eye. Red-inked initials. Filed by D. McAllister, supervisor. He knew that name. She'd been in charge the day he vanished. She said she'd help. She said, "Don't worry, Elijah, I'll make sure someone finds you." She never did. He searched her name in the archive terminal. D. McAllister, retired 2015. Volunteered part-time as independent family advocate. Last known address, Redstone Avenue. He pulled out his phone. He had no plan. Just a name. A long-buried wound that still itched. That night, Kai was waiting on the fire escape. Elijah opened a window. "You went somewhere?" "Yeah." "Dangerous?" "Yeah." Kai nodded like that was acceptable, then held out a paper. It was a list, in his handwriting. Kai's plan. Move to Elijah's if inspections happen. Don't sleep more than 2 hours in one place. Pretend to be Elijah's cousin's kid if anyone asks. Have a hideout inside the building backup. Be ready to run. "We're not running," Elijah said. "Then what are we doing?" He took the list and gently folded it. "We're fighting smarter." The next morning, Elijah knocked on a small yellow house in the suburbs. The woman who opened the door had hair like cotton thread and a walker with tennis balls on the legs. She looked at him for a long time before her eyes widened. Elijah heard. He nodded. She stepped aside without another word. Inside, she poured tea, still strong hands, despite age. "I thought you died." "I did." Silence. Then she reached into a drawer and pulled out a folder. "I've kept this. I don't know why. Maybe guilt. Maybe hope." Inside were old forms, letters, a photo Elijah had never seen, himself holding a stuffed bear, smiling. "I should have looked harder," she whispered. "You were the last adult who ever said my name like it meant something." They sat for hours. He told her about Kai, about the rules, about the DHS man with the clipboard. "They'll erase him," Elijah said, "like they erased me." McAllister's eyes welled. "Then we'll make them see." She made 2 phone calls, one to a lawyer, a civil rights advocate who took cases no one else would touch, the other to a reporter at a local paper. "They'll listen to me. Old woman, former caseworker, I still have a few favors." That night, Elijah returned home with new folders, contacts, phone numbers. Kai was on his couch, coloring. "You found something," he said. "I found someone." Kai didn't look up. "They won't believe me. Then they'll believe me." Elijah placed the old file. Monday morning came gray and heavy. The Mayflower building stood under a flat sky, windows like tired eyes. By 9 a.m., a black city SUV pulled up. 2 DHS agents stepped out, joined by a security officer and the building superintendent. Clipboard man was back. Same hard eyes, same thin smile. Elijah watched from behind his door. Kai sat on the couch, knees tucked under his chin, a granola bar untouched in his lap. "Today's the day," Elijah whispered. Kai nodded. "I know." "You don't have to speak if you're not ready." "I am." The knock came sharp and cold. Elijah opened the door. Clipboard man raised an eyebrow. "Mr. Hurd, you again?" "Still here." "We have a scheduled inspection of Unit 3B. We know." The man stepped forward, then paused. Because next to Elijah, standing straight and silent, was Kai, wearing clean jeans, a navy hoodie, and a name tag scrawled in crayon. "Hello, my name is Kai." The man blinked. "Who's this?" Elijah looked down at Kai. Kai spoke, voice small but steady. "My name is Kai." "And you live in 3B?" the man asked, crouching. Kai shook his head. "Not anymore." "Then where—" "With Elijah." The clipboard twitched in the agent's hand. "This is highly irregular. We have reason to believe this minor has been unlawfully squatting." "He's not a squatter," Elijah interrupted. "He's a survivor." The man straightened. "Is this your legal guardian?" "No," Kai said. "Then we'll have to place you under emergency protective custody." "He's not going," Elijah said, stepping in front of the boy. The hallway went silent. Then a woman appeared from the stairwell. Old, gray hair in a braid, sharp eyes. D. McAllister. "Actually," she said, raising a thick folder, "I'm under my supervision." "Who are you?" "Retired child welfare supervisor. You can check my credentials and my witness affidavit, signed and notarized, declaring that this child was living in unsafe conditions and that the state failed to act for weeks." The clipboard man paled. "You don't have authority." "I do," another voice cut in. A second woman stepped out behind McAllister. Tailored suit, briefcase, eyes like ice. "Lana Brooks, Civil Rights Law Center. I'm representing Mr. Hurd and this minor pro bono, and if DHS takes one step closer without proper legal basis, I'll file an injunction within the hour." The clipboard man looked rattled. He turned to the building superintendent. "Open 3B." The super nodded. The door creaked open. Inside, sparse furniture, a few scattered books, a blanket, duct tape on the window. No sign of anyone living there now. Just silence, and the echo of a boy who used to sleep in closets. "We'll process this formally," the agent muttered. "Good," McAllister said. "So will we." That night, Kai sat at the table eating cereal. He didn't flinch at footsteps in the hallway. He didn't tap on the wall. "They're not coming back, are they?" he asked. "Not tonight." "Maybe not ever?" Elijah smiled faintly. "Let's aim for that." Kai reached into his hoodie and pulled out a paper. It was his rules list. Crossed out, one by one. Except for one. "I'm still keeping Rule 5, he said. Which was, 5 minutes is all anyone gets. He grinned. "But I think I'll make exceptions." 1 month later, Kai stood in front of a classroom door. New school, new clothes, new rules. But this time, he'd written the rules himself, in pen, not pencil. He looked up at Elijah, who stood beside him, holding a manila folder with his name printed clearly on the label. Kai J. Turner, it read. His real name, his chosen name. For the first time in years, a name wasn't something to run from. Inside the school, a soft-spoken counselor crouched to meet him. "We're so glad you're here, Kai. Would you like to meet your class?" Kai hesitated, then nodded. Elijah gave him a little nudge. "Rule 1, Kai whispered. "Try first." He took a step, then another, and disappeared through the door. Outside, Elijah exhaled. The counselor turned to him. "You're listed as emergency contact, correct?" "Correct." And temporary guardian? For now. She smiled. She's lucky to have you. Elijah stared at the hallway where Kai had vanished. No, he said softly. I'm lucky to have him. Back at the apartment, Elijah sat at the same kitchen table. The apartment felt different now. Lived in, brighter. There was cereal on the counter, a crayon under the fridge, a blanket on the couch that always ended up on the floor by morning. And on the fridge, a new paper. Not Kai's rules, but a letter. To the next kid who's hiding. Hi. If you're reading this, you're probably scared. Maybe you're behind a vent or under a cabinet or hiding from someone with a badge who says they just want to help. I did that too. I had rules. I had numbers. I never used my name. But I met someone who saw me, like actually saw me. And he didn't ask me to talk. He waited. He stayed. And when I was ready, I talked. So here's what I want to tell you. Your name is still yours. Even if nobody says it. Even if they try to take it away. Even if you almost forget how it sounds. You can say it again. When you're ready. And when you do, there will be someone who hears you. Love, Kai. Apartment 3B. Not hiding anymore. Elijah stood in the doorway reading it again. He didn't cry, but something cracked open inside him, something he'd buried since he was in that dusty, quiet group home waiting for someone who never came. But someone had come for Kai, and now maybe that was enough. That night, they sat on the fire escape. Kai leaned against Elijah's arm, a flashlight in his hand, clicking it on and off. "Want to hear the new rule I made?" he asked. "Always." "Rule 0, Kai said. If you're not hiding, you get to live." Elijah smiled. "That's a good one." Kai looked up at the sky. "Think there are other kids out there?" "I know there are." "What do we do?" Elijah didn't answer right away. Then he said, "We keep the light on." And so they did. Every night, Elijah left the porch light on. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, he'd find a letter in the hallway, crumpled, anonymous, in shaky handwriting. "I saw your sign. Is it true? Can I come in too?" And Elijah would write back, "Yes, you're not alone. Come home."